This is a cutting from the autobiography of Malcolm X. Enjoy. My memories are a friction between my father and mother. They seem to nearly always be at odds. Sometimes my father would beat him. It might have had something to do with the fact that my mother had a pretty good education. Where she got it, I don't know, but an educated woman, I suppose, can't resist the temptation to correct an uneducated man. Every now and then, when she would put those smooth words on her, he would grab her. There you go. I can work on that. My father was also belligerent toward all of the children except me. The older ones he would beat almost savagely if they broke any of the rules, and he had so many rules it was hard to know the difference. Nearly all of my whippings came from my mother. I've thought a lot about why, and actually I believe that as anti-white as my father was, he was subconsciously so afflicted with the brainwashing of Negroes that he was inclined to favor the lighter ones, and I was the lighter child. Most Negro parents in those days would instinctively treat any of the lighter children better than they did the darker ones. It came directly from the slavery tradition that the mulatto, because he was visibly nearer to white, was therefore better. My other two images of my father are both outside of the home. One was his role as a Baptist preacher. He never pastored in a regular church. He was always a visiting preacher. I remember especially his favorite sermon. That little black train is a-comin', and y'all better get your business right. I guess this also fit with the association of the Back to Africa movement, Marcus Garvey's Black Train Homeward. I somehow never thought of the black people in Africa. My image of Africa at that time was naked savages, cannibals, monkeys, and tigers, and steam and jungles. In church, well, it confused and amazed me. Even at a young age, I just couldn't believe in the Christian concept of Jesus as someone divine. And no religious person until I was a man in my 20s and then in prison could tell me anything. I had very little respect for most people who represented religion. But I knew that the collections that my father got from preaching was mainly what fed and clothed us. Still, the image of him that made me the proudest was his crusading and militant campaigning with the words of Marcus Garvey. As young as I was then, I knew that what I overheard, my father was saying something that made him a tough man. I remember an old lady grinning and saying to my father, "You're scaring these white folks to death." I said that my mother was the one who whipped me. At least she did whenever she wasn't ashamed to let the neighbors think she was killing me. For even if she acted as though she was about to raise her hand to me, I would open my mouth and let the world know about it. If anybody was passing by, she would either change her mind or else just give me a few licks. Thinking about it now, I feel definitely that just as my father favored me for being lighter of the other children, my mother gave me more hell for the same reason. She was very light herself, but favored the darker ones. I remember she would tell me to get out of the house and let the sun shine on you so you could get some color. She went out of her way to never let me become afflicted with a sense of color superiority. I'm sure she treated me this way partly because of how she was light herself. I learned early that crying out in protest could accomplish things. My older brothers and sisters had started to school when sometimes they would come in and ask for a buttered biscuit or something, and my mother impatiently would tell them no. But I would cry out and make a fuss until I got what I wanted. I remember well how my mother asked me why I couldn't just be a nice boy like Wilfred. But I remember Wilfred, for being so nice, quite often stayed hungry. So early in life, I learned that if you want something, you had better make some noise. 1965. Every moment I wake up now, I regard it as having another borrowed day. In any city, wherever I go, making speeches, holding meetings, or attending to other business. Men are watching my every move, awaiting their chance to kill me. I've said publicly many times that I know they have their orders. But those who would hunt a man need to remember that a jungle also contains those who would hunt the hunters. Now every day I live as if I'm already dead. I say that from the things I know. I do not expect to live long enough to read this book in its finished form. And I just want you to watch and see if I'm not right in what I say. The press will identify me as a convenient symbol of hatred. And that will help them to escape facing the truth that all I've been doing is holding up a mirror to reflect, to show the history of unspeakable crimes. You watch. I will be labeled as, at best, irresponsible. I've always felt that this accusation of the black leader, whom white men consider to be responsibly, is invariably the leader who never gets any results. And since I have been some kind of leader here in this racist society of America, I've been reassured that every time the white man resisted me or attacked me harder, that I was on the right track. The opposition made me know that I did offer the black man something worthwhile. And yes, I have cherished my demigod role. And I know that societies have often killed the men who have helped to change those societies. But if I can die having brought any light, having exposed any meaningful truth that will help to destroy the racist cancer that is malignant in the society of America, then all credit is due to Allah. Only the mistakes have been mine.